Well, it is a pleasure to say we are joined today by the one and only Terri Runnels, and I apologise on air to both everybody who's listening and to yourself for our audio problems. The last time we tried to interview all at my end, but I say it's much appreciated that you're giving us some of your time today. So just before we get going, just how are things with you and what are you up to at the moment?
Things are great. At this very moment, I am standing at a table with about 50 different magazines of all of varying degrees of interest, and literally ripping out pages of things, of shoots and items that I want to have incorporated in my next photo shoot for the photographer to see. So, literally, it might be an angle, it might be the lighting, it might be just a variety of reasons that I like that page or that thing, and so I rip it out and put it in a file. And so that's what I'm doing right now at this very moment.
Now, before we get into talking your time in both WCW and WWE, did you have a background when you were growing up? Were you interested in watching wrestling when you were young, or did you know much about it, or how were you set in that regard?
I only remember seeing it a time or two when I would try to spend time with my father and sit down with him, and he was not a big fan, but I do remember, on occasion, he would stop on it and watch it for a moment. So that's my memory of it as a youngster.
Now, how did you make the jump? Obviously, you were a makeup artist back in the day for Turner and so on, but how did they to come to you and ask you to step in front of the camera?
Ole Anderson sent Tony Schiavone, and I say he sent him. I need to actually ask Tony Schiavone how that went down. But Tony Schiavone and I had lunch together, and Tony presented the idea, and pretty much they gave me the concept of what they wanted, and then I came up with the name, and that Alexandra was born.
As Alexandra York, obviously, in WCW, you managed guys such as Mike Rotunda and Terry Taylor and Ricky Morton and so on. How was that as an experience for you, or did you view it as just a job, or were you excited to be doing it?
Because it was something that I did not set out wanting to do, I didn't really realize the importance of it and how, especially in today's time, I mean, everybody wants to be a diva. Everyone wants to be a WWE star. And, of course, at that time, back in WCW, honestly, what I looked at it was, okay, this is going to somewhat appease my acting bug, and it is going to put more money in my bank account. And so that is literally the way I viewed it at the time. Of course, being I was in some ways an old soul, but in other ways, I guess still a youngster, and so green, and not really understanding the real relevance that it would have.
In the early 1990s, and I've spoken to a few people who have had different, varying different, how could I put it, experiences of this, but did you notice any different treatment levied towards you as being a woman in the business, or was everyone very respectful, if you know what I mean, at that time of the game?
Everyone was respectful, but the one thing that really bothered me back then was, and I mean, I guess this is just typical male, and it being such a manly oriented and controlled sport. It was kind of an amped up thing, but basically if one of the boys walked into my makeup room and they were in there longer than 5 minutes, then the question was, well, are you dating her?
Yeah.
And I found that rather silly. But other than that, I don't think I really pay attention to stuff like that. You know, to me, it's like you scrap and you work hard and you do your best. And you know, I just really didn't take a whole lot of time to whine about treatment of women, I guess.
Yeah. Now, what led to you leaving WCW at that point in the mid-90s?
Well, Dustin and I had started dating, and, you know, I was in the business before Dustin was in the business.
Yeah.
And very interesting. And I had bought a condo in downtown Atlanta, which for a 24-year-old was quite the accomplishment. And I remember Dusty basically thinking that I was a gold digger. Like, that's what he actually said at the time.
Yeah.
And little did he know, you know, God bless Dustin, and this is no secret, but, you know, at the time that Dustin and I started dating, he didn't have a pot to piss in, owed taxes, had never filed taxes, had no money in the bank, and I owned property, had money in the bank, didn't owe anybody anything, and so I found that rather funny, you know, that he was afraid that I was dating his son only to take his son's money. But you know, it was not very nice in the beginning the way he was to me once he found out that we were dating, and so it was just a night that I got fed up and just said, you know, literally I was there at TV's and just walked out, and that was the end of Alexandra.
Over the years, you have sold off some of your...
I guess so. LD sold?
Yes. Some of your Alexandra outfits and some of your Marlena stuff. Did you ever think that you would see a day when there would be a market for that type of stuff?
Oh, I mean, I saved not only for my child's sake, so that anything that she wanted, she could have of mine from a memorabilia standpoint. But, you know, I think I didn't think of it in terms of, you know, cashing in, you know, on these things, but I thought definitely in terms of, you know, keeping things for posterity's sake. And, you know, like now, when I do sell an item to a collector, I really like finding the collectors that are so respectful and so energized by getting one of the pieces. You know, I'll have someone say, you know, I have something from Alexandra and something from Terri, but I've got to get that one Marlena piece that really will, you know, enhance my collection. Or, you know, there are some that want strictly Marlena or strictly Terri Runnels, She-Devil stuff. There's very, very little left of Alexandra, and the majority of that will be kept for Dakota. I think literally I have 3 of the Alexandra York Foundation T-shirts, you know, that have never been worn, that have just been saved. So I've got 3 of those to sell, and I've of course have saved 1 for, you know, my own archives for Dakota. So yeah, it's not something that I sat, you know, really with a strong thought process that I will, you know, I'm going to save all of these to sell them. I think it was just more of a, you know, in my mind, sentimental and for my child.
No.
Children. At the time, I didn't know if I would have 1 or more children.
Yeah. Now, in 1996, when you debuted as Marlena, as you mentioned, you had a young daughter. Did it take much convincing for them to get you to go back in front of the camera?
Well, I'm the one that came up with the idea for Marlena, so I went to them. I went to Dustin first and told him the idea that I'd had for Marlena, and the whole concept that I created in my mind. And so, no, of course not. If I'm the one bringing it to them, there's no thing.
Now, you were both heels with real heat, and obviously there had been, even some of the guys in the business had heat, with particularly the Goldust character and so on. How aware were you of the heat that you guys had in the entire business, but especially with the fans?
Well, of course, that meant success to us.
Yeah.
Every night that we went out, and this ridiculous low hum was elevated into a roar of disdain and displeasure. It was so gratifying. I mean, I think that's one of the only times that you can truly say to be booed felt so great. But, we knew we were doing our jobs, and we knew we were touching a nerve, and, it was a great thing.
Now, you were, as we were saying, you were both proper heels with real heat. But how did it come around that the company decided to turn you face?
Well, I think that, you almost all characters, when they have been successful enough as heels, then you have the thought process that, you first of all, you want to see what will happen. But usually if someone is a great or grand heel, and if the story is done properly, you can turn it and they can be as successful or more successful as the opposite of that. So, I don't recall if that's something more you would have to ask, like Vince Russo and Vince McMahon, exactly what the impetus for, the turn was. I know that, we had some situations where the death of someone certainly changed the course that we were, the path that we were heading down. But, yeah, you'd have to ask someone else that question.
Oh, obviously, you mentioned that. If I may touch on it for a second, obviously, there was the death of Brian whenever the three of you were in the middle of your angle. And I know that in 2013, when I interviewed Dustin before he went back to WWE, he described that whole day as just being really, really difficult, and he felt that the show should have been pulled that night. Just how difficult a day was it for everyone in the company?
Well, because we were working with him, and because you're certainly more keenly aware of where someone is when you're working a story with them. The night before that, we had worked, and it was actually a house show. I rarely was on the road to do house shows, but I was doing that one, and I remember saying to Dustin, wow, he was really, rough with me tonight. Like he cut my neck with his fingernail, and just, I knew something was off. And so I went up to him after the match and everything, and I said, "Are you okay?" And he said, effing nobody will let me ride with him. And he was just, he was probably affected by a chemical at that point.
Yeah.
And so I went to Dustin and said, "Hey, Dust, should we offer him a ride?" And he's like, "Oh, no, somebody will give him a ride." So we go to the next town, and, we're supposed to be there by 1 o'clock, and 1 turns to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4. I shouldn't even say that. I don't remember exactly what time it was when I said, Dust, he's not here. And I went to Dave Hebner and said, something is not right here. He was not in a good place last night, and so, of course, they started calling the hotel, and they found out. And, not that my day should supersede the importance of what happened, but that it was my birthday that he passed on. And so, this was a guy that I had really cared for and had dated a short time in WCW, and that was so hard to know that my thought was, what could I have done? I could have done something last night. Of course, the first thing I thought was, if we would have only let him ridden with us, maybe I could have done something that would have changed, the outcome. So I think I really felt horrible about that, and of course there was nothing I could have done to have changed it, but that was my first thought. I could have done something to have changed it. So it was such you're just gutted when you find out something like that. It's just horrible.
A lot of your time as a character in WWE was the characters were very sexualized in inverted commas to a degree. Were you always happy with that, or was there anything that you had tried to change a little bit along the way?
I realized that I was not a fool. I understand what a certain layer and a certain component that females bring.
Yeah.
I get it that if women were, came out with zero makeup on, zero hair, and they were dressed in long sleeve, long pants, croaker sacks, zero appeal, zero flash appeal, they wouldn't add what they do to the show. And so, on one hand, you can sit back and say, oh, well, they sexualize these women. Well, yeah, but it kind of goes back to, literally who we are as human beings, and from the Stone Age, if you really stop and think, and this, I'm taking a bit of a detour to get to your answer, but it really aggravates me sometimes with women, especially, who have a judgment call about other women who, wear hair, makeup, clothing that is very, I'm trying to think of the word, not garish, but just very, very flashy, let's say. And then I go back to, okay, so the female that is judging this other female because they, wore a sexy top, or because they colored their hair, or because they had fake fingernails or fake boobs, or any of those components of someone's aesthetics. And I think to myself, when that female woke up that morning, and when they went out to be in front of other people, did they put on clothing? Okay, yes. Did they do their hair? Yes. Did they put on an earring or a ring on their finger or a necklace on their neck? No matter how simple it may be, and the answer is most likely yes. And so some part of that female is thinking that what they are putting on, how they are I'm looking for the word, how they are decorating, I guess, their bodies, for lack of a better word, decorating their bodies, that they feel that they are adding to that and looking better because of that blouse, those shoes, that hair, whatever. I don't judge someone because they don't wear as much makeup as I do, or don't wear the size heel that I wear, or that sort of thing, because it all boils down to, you do what you feel comfortable doing. You do what you like to do. So when Terri goes out for a normal day and dresses the way I dress, it certainly is not anywhere near what I do for my characters. But back to your question, that's just it. I was dressing for a character. Those things were costumes. So I never had a problem with that fact. I knew that was the case. I knew what I was there for in a lot of instances. And, part of it was my mouth, so that I could speak for the other wrestlers who were not that good with a microphone, or that were new. And the other part was, yes, there was some intellect involved in that aspect, but the other part was the total aesthetic of that character. So, stuff like that didn't bother me.
Now, you mentioned obviously the character, and when you left WWE in 2004, were you sorry to go, or did you feel that the character had sort of had run its course, if you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I think the character had run its course. You know, and I think that I was getting on up there, and the one place you can look and go, okay, guys have it better than girls, is in terms of when guys get older. I'm sorry, they don't age and look bad like females do. And, you know, I think there were a lot of young girls nipping at my heels and wanting a spot. And, you know, I was not a young little kitten any longer. So, you know, I think it was fine. I still, you know, I would not mind doing some managerial stuff or some hosting of a show or that sort of thing. But yeah, I think I'm happy to leave the rest to the other girls.
Now, to some wrestling fans, when you're out of the mainstream, people think that life has stopped and that everyone is just wishing to get back into WWE and so on. But what have you been up to since in the years that you have left WWE, just for anyone who isn't aware?
Yeah. The greatest part about not being on the road constantly was being able to be a mom and stop this lifestyle that was just such a rigorous and tiring one. And I'm complaining, and I only did TVs and house shows. I mean, TVs and pay-per-views. I didn't even do the house shows. So it is quite a demanding lifestyle and schedule. So to get off of that merry-go-round was wonderful. I've been able to help a couple of friends with their businesses in terms of marketing. I am working with a company right now, their supplements that I wouldn't be caught dead without. And the thing I love about this particular, the formulator and the way he's formulated this particular product is it's meant to take for a long term. Its original purpose was for people with diabetes, and it ended up happening that people were losing weight, and it's not something that's a thermogenic that will cause your heart to race or for you to be those jittery feelings. It is a non-thermogenic, and it works on your blood chemistry. So it's something that I feel so healthy. Like my blood pressure, even though I never had bad blood pressure, my blood pressure has come down. I am the healthiest I have been in a long, long time, and I love it. So that's what I'm doing currently. And I've got about 8 other irons in the fire of other things that I do at the same time. So
I think that sounds like the sort of stuff I need to get on to, I think.
About it. In fact, let me say this too. If anyone's interested, I've created a separate Facebook page strictly for that, not for wrestling, strictly for that. And that is True, T-R-U, Terri, T-E-R-R-I, on Facebook. So if they want to know more, if they're interested, I don't want someone to go and friend me and ask wrestling questions, because I will not. That's not what it's for.
Yep.
But if they're sincere and serious, the product has helped so many people with their fibromyalgia, migraines, and the diabetes, like I said to you, as well as weight loss. So if anyone struggles or needs help with that, I'm more than happy to help them. They can go to True Terri on Facebook, and I will help them out.
You mentioned being able to spend some time just being a mum. Obviously, Dakota is now in her sort of early mid-20s. Has she ever shown any interest in following you both into the business? And if she did, what advice would you give to her?
Oh my gosh, these are the same questions I answered.
I know.
Funny. She has the blood in her on, her mom, her dad, her grandfather, Dusty Rhodes, her Uncle Cody Rhodes, her Two Uncles by Marriage, Tugboat, and Sags of the Nasty Boys. I mean, it's all around her. I think it's just not something that she's ever shown interest in. I think, if anything, the acting aspect of it, the creating a character aspect of it, would be the only thing that she would be drawn to. So I could see her doing something managerially, although she's never expressed interest. She's more interested in production and direction behind the camera, and that's what her degree is in. She is going for is a communications degree, documentary science, television, film production. So I'm thrilled. She's on the dean's list, and she graduates this December. And so, whatever my child wants to do, I support 100%, but I doubt that you will ever see her in a ring being a pugilist, so to speak.
Now, you will be at WrestleCon over WrestleMania weekend, I believe.
I will.
How can the fans, as I say, catch up with you there, and what will you be doing when you're there over the course of that weekend?
They can catch up with me there by being there. by going to WrestleCon, they can catch up with me. I'll be signing my name. I'll be shaking hands. I'll be talking to fans. That's one thing I really love about doing the autograph signings, is just being able to actually look somebody in the eyeballs and have a conversation with them and have enough time to speak to them versus some people choose to keep their head down, sign their name, and just go on to the next person. I really like to, give people time and attention, and, I appreciate them for being genuine fans for all these years.
Just as we sort of come full circle and tie things up, do you have any sort of final, as you say, any words for your fans, and how can they keep in touch with you or keep up to date with what you're up to?
Well, all of my social media is all the Terri Runnels. So TheTerriRunnels. So Facebook, it's just my fan page is Terri Runnels. My Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, all that is the Terri Runnels. Except no fakes. And I should spank you, because you and I tried to do this years ago. You had some failure in terms of audio equipment.
Yeah.
And after all this time, I thought you would have come up with some really kick-ass different questions. And Gary, you've asked me the same damn questions I answer everybody. Come on, give me something different. Give me something unique.
Well, I was to say there were some things that obviously I wasn't gonna.
That's from your gut, not. Just like I would die for someone to please ask me something like, "Hey Terri, what's your morning routine like?" Or "Hey, something weird off the wall, something that I don't get asked all the time." Come on, Gary, I know you got it in you. Come on.
Let's see. Favorite brand of oatmeal?
Favorite brand of what?
Oatmeal. Or favorite brand of cereal or breakfast juice drink?
My favorite breakfast, day in, day out, is chocolate almond raisin zone bar. They are so frickin' good that I literally have to make myself only eat one. I love them that much. They are so good. They do not taste like a protein bar. And for anyone who is watching their calories, and if somebody's watching their wallet, let's say they want to lose weight, but they don't want to spend a lot of money on protein powders and this, and you can buy a box of chocolate almond raisin zone bars, and usually you'll get a box for $4 and something at Walmart, and you literally, it comes out to like a little under $1 a bar. So I highly recommend them. Thank you for asking that question. That I have my 1 cup of Starbucks coffee. I have a liter of water every morning, and then I have my magic beans, my secret weapon capsules that I take, and yeah, that's my breakfast.
I mean, do you ever actually, on a genuine question, do you ever get, or have you found that when you've come to people with an idea, or if people have come to you to represent them or work with them, that they get you and the character, in inverted commas, mixed up, if you know what I mean? They expect one thing and then are shocked whenever they find you.
People in that way, but people in general. You know, it's really, it's a bit sad, but, you know, I have guys all the time that think that I walk around with a whip in my hand, you know, thanking men because of my strong characters over the course of time, Alexander York, and then Marlena, and that sort of thing. And, you know, nothing could be further from the truth. I love a man to be a man, and I love the role of being a lady. So, yeah, people get that confused all the time. You know, I am not my characters. Although there is a component of me in my characters, I am not my characters. Yeah, it's very interesting that you asked me that. It's funny, too. I will tell you one other thing that I really am excited for people about. There's a company called CelebVM.
Yes.
CelebVM.com. And what they've come up with is a grand thing for celebrities, because in our own time, at our own pace, at our own comfort level, we can take and record these videos for fans, whether it be a surprise for someone else's birthday, a congratulatory message for a job promotion, an anniversary, whatever. And then they're doing a platform where for commercials and or endorsements. And if you think about it, Gary, for someone, like if someone came to me and wanted me to do a commercial for their company and or product, let's say, an endorsement, there's the fee that I charge, and then on top of that, you would have to incur the cost of the production company, the catering company that would have to cater the commercial shoot, the makeup artist, the hair. There's just so many layers and so many layers of finances that go along with doing a commercial or an endorsement like that. And literally, you can take away all that. So on the initial thought, when you say, "Oh my gosh, Terri, you charge $1,000 to do a minute commercial for someone," yeah, but you literally, instead of it being a $5,000 or $10,000 project, it is only $1,000, let's say, and I'm just throwing money off. I'm not telling you that's what my fees are. But and if you think about it, you can use that commercial. If you wanted to loop that commercial 24/7 on your website, or you can use it as many times as you want to, over and over and over again. And you're not having to pay, any royalties on that. It's a one-time Charlie charge, and you're crazy not to. You also get the celebrity coming across in a much more genuine way because they're in their own element. So when they're talking about using this product or whatever it may be that they're talking about, it comes across as much more genuine than a typical commercial where you feel like, oh, okay, well, they got paid a shit ton of money to do that commercial, and they probably don't even care about the product. So, yeah, I love doing that. So if anyone wants me to do that, I'm happy to do it. But yeah, don't confuse me with my old characters.
I mean, do you think we'll actually ever see? There's been a lot of people, particularly here in the UK. Actually, there's been a new market in the last couple of years for people coming across and doing these part meet and greets but part spoken word tours or question and answer sessions and so on. Do you think we'll ever see yourself doing one of these sorts of tours over in the UK?
Oh, I mean, I would absolutely love to. That's what makes me happy, is connecting with the fans and to be able to do something like that. I mean, I've been to Mick Foley's, and if you ever get a chance to go and see his show, it's incredible. He's such a ridiculously sharp human being, and I love hearing his stories, and a lot of the stories I've witnessed firsthand, and they still don't get old, hearing him tell them over and over again. But yeah, I love coming over there, and I love doing the different conventions and or meet and greets, and so yeah, absolutely, I welcome more of them. I just did some for Showmasters last year, and I was really impressed with the level of professionalism that all of their people had. I loved it.
Well, as I say, it has been much appreciated that you've given me, that's a good 35-40 minutes of your time this afternoon. It's much appreciated. So from me to you, thank you very much.
My pleasure. It was good to finally connect with you again, Gary.
Yeah, and if there's anything technically wrong with the recording this time, I think I'll just cry. No, it's not. It's working perfectly. I've been checking it, so all's good.